So here we are at Yorktown.
Right,
This is
Yorktown.
amazing. Man, I cannot. Oh man, I'm so excited.
They're in the last minute strapping everything to
Yeah. So we finally get out to Yorktown, and then like we have to like make 3 stops. And Ben's parents took us out to lunch, which was really nice to have like a last real meal or something. I think it was like Thai food.
restaurant.
Yeah. But I mean, it was just like this like kind of Shirley thing where everything like is like an hour later than
Yeah,
what you
goodbyes get really drawn
Yeah.
out. We stopped at like a drugstore, and my mom was buying us plastic Ziploc bags, and I was looking at CD cases, and
think. Yeah.
and you had to go to the post office. Did you
don't
mail stuff to our mail stops, our future mail stops?
I did mail some stuff,
Books, right? That's what the books were, because you had planned like where you were gonna read, what
Yeah,
portions
but
of the
that
trip you're
wasn't
gonna
the
read.
stuff I
different-
was sending him. I can't
Okay.
remember what I was sending him. I think it was extra clothes for once the bike trip was done. Yeah, it was stuff
Oh,
for
okay.
after the trip. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, well, so like another example of like sort of what I worked on versus what Ben works on. Like I set up these mail stops,
Right.
which you thought was just dumb, right?
No. I mean,
You came around.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I thought they weren't totally necessary.
Yeah.
It was like your idea of like probably the GPS. Like,
Right,
Like,
right.
well, it's like a lot of work for
Right.
what, but
And like, so I set up these mail stops. I emailed them out to people, that kind of stuff. But
well, so I don't know. I was gonna say one of the other sort of accoutrement, extra things that I was really kind of getting geeky excited about bringing on a trip was a video camera, and of course, this is what made this whole video possible. And I think you were pretty into that idea too.
yeah, I mean, I was into it. I mean, this is
You
I
kind
have
of let
to,
me like.
yeah. I have to admit, like, I was sort of like into it as long as it didn't like interfere with me. Like, I feel like that was my
Right.
attitude about a lot of stuff on the trip. Was sort of like, well, if you want to take care, instead of being like a responsible like bike partner and sort of like trying to do it together, I was just like, yeah, whatever. Like, if you have some crazy idea, go ahead.
I wonder if I can even ride this thing with all this junk on.
Yeah.
Where's your backpack? Oh, your sleeping bag.
It's
Where's your sleeping bag,
in
Jen?
here.
Oh, it's in a bag.
She's so concerned.
Okay. Now you'll have bike trouble the rest of the way with getting in the door.
May 15th, dipping of the tires, Yorktown to Richmond, Virginia. Ben and Jonathan don't set out on their journey until 2:30 p.m. that day. It is typical for Ben's family to operate behind schedule, and this late start is a foreboding sign of things to come for Jonathan. Within the first few miles, they take a wrong turn. Ben, using his GPS, argues for a shortcut through a military base. After some debate and fear of approaching the base gate guard, they decide to backtrack. They nervously laugh at the irony of getting lost within the first few miles of a 4,000-mile trip and wonder what wrong turns await them further down the road. After a few hours on the road, they reach the historic Jamestown Visitor Center. It's starting to drizzle rain, so they stop to get out their rain gear and use the bathroom. As they approach the front door to the visitor center, they encounter another cyclist who declares, "You're dreaming, guys. You're never going to make it." Their fragile touring egos are instantly crushed. Ben manages a neutral but somewhat defensive, "What are you doing?" As it turns out, the cyclist is actually referring to the visitor center closing and not their trip and its impending doom, as Ben and Jonathan first thought. They later wonder what it was that instantly gave them the idea that this man was a touring cyclist. After all, he had no bike. Perhaps it was because they were so near the eastern terminus of the Trans-America bike route and naively expected to see touring cyclists everywhere. Perhaps it was his worn synthetic clothing, or his slight malnourished build, or the familiarity with which he addressed them, yet lacking in some subtle bounds of normal social interaction. He had apparently just finished a ride which included most of the East Coast, and Ben and Jonathan had to wonder, would they end up like him? The sun sets as Ben and Jonathan ride into Richmond. Ben observes that Jonathan's bike light projects an image on the pavement in front of them which resembles a ghostly monkey head, beckoning them onwards into the darkness. Among other interesting ideas that occur to Ben that first day of the trip, were creating a giant bungee ball from all the many stray bungee cords that they always notice along the side of the road. Ben and Jonathan decide that they could obtain a bike trailer and carry the ball as it grows to gargantuan proportions. Or instead, why not have a roadkill cart that they use to collect all the carcasses they come across on the trip? This leads Jonathan to exclaim, "This is going to be a great trip." They are only a mile from that night's destination, their old friend Heather's house, when the day's intermittent drizzle turns into pouring rain. They arrive to a washed-out welcome sign, dry towels, a warm meal, and a soft bed. Ben noted a familiar nagging pain in his ankles that night.